evening,
Good
wherever
morning.
you are in the world. Welcome to Radio Works World. I am Musa Inua on Africa Live Show. And today, we discuss about women empowerment. Our question is how do we are discussing about women empowerment for socio-economic development. And our question is for today, how does a woman contribute to economic development in Africa? And we are pleased to have our guests from around the world. Today, we are pleased to also have Asma Ayu. She is a licensed counseling and psychologist, and also the executive director for Ayua Foundation from Ghana. And also, we have Lydia, who works with an NGO also in um, she's also based in Italy, I guess. Yeah. We also have Gufran, who will be also joining us from Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for joining us, Asma Ayub.
Thank you for.
Can you hear me, Asma? Hello. Can you hear me,
Yeah.
Asma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you for joining us on our live show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great. What can you tell us about yourself before we start with our topic of the day?
Okay, well, like you rightly said, it's Asmao, and I am a counseling psychologist who I'm the executive director for RAI, which is a youth-based community organization based in Accra, Ghana. We work with lost communities, most especially children and girls. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so with regards to our topic of the day, I understand we're going to be joined by other, guests from around the world who are going to contribute in our discussion. My first question to you: How does a woman contribute to economic development? When you about this, what can you say about this?
Okay, well, I think that women vote of development actually, and so when a country disregard women or puts women at the blind side of development, that country is certainly bound to remain underdeveloped because women are mothers, and so train the next generation. They are wives,
Okay.
they would support men, and of course, other than that as well, when they move out into the community, when they move out into nationals, they control, they work at making sure that getting rightly done. And so when a country neglects is certainly we're going to have a lot of retrogression in that country.
Okay, all right. In your capacity as a woman, what do you love to do most about yourself as an African woman?
Wow, interesting question. Well, woman as a woman of the globe, wherever I find myself, so important that I find my space, that I find, because sadly, a lot of the time, that's where I lose it, because they have been made to believe that is not really necessary, it's not needed. And so I'm so proud of myself because wherever I find myself, I get to vocalize what my feelings are, but I think that I can contribute to the development of my country, my community, even my home, to think at large, because certainly irrespective of where a woman finds herself, so this goes beyond just you have a contribution to give. You can be part of developmental. And so for me, I am particularly excited that I get to speak up on issues to women in general. Aside the community training that I do with young girls, I get to add my voice to development and socioeconomic issues that affect women generally.
So, do you believe that women in Africa are neglected when it comes to giving a leadership role?
Well, I wouldn't say a yes or no definite answer to your question. Because if I say yes, that I'll be doing a disservice to the likes of Rwanda, that has really prioritized the leadership roles of women. Women are really playing such a significant role. We can talk about their parliament, which has about 70%. And if I say no, then I will certainly also be probably being on majority of women in other parts of Africa who are not been given those opportunities yet. And so it is a work in progress. I think that's how I'm going to answer your question, because in as much as we do have a lot of women who are still struggling to find their space in leadership positions, we still do have those ones we can look up to and celebrate, who have achieved, aside not only in political fields, economic wise, and basically in all spheres you can think about. And so it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way thing. The struggle for women's leadership has been that most women have had been made to believe and have found themselves in a state of a learned helplessness, where they think that they can't achieve anything, or their position are just in the homes. But a woman's position is beyond that, because even though you have to train children, you're part of it, the man is equally part of it. A woman alone is not made for the house, okay? Although she's the primary caretaker, but she's not the only one. She's not it's not a single parent system. Is a man and a husband, a man, and a wife who comes together to make this. So the woman's role is beyond just that. Okay, it goes beyond just the house, and then she should go beyond that. She should influence policies, because issues that affect women are certainly more convincing, are certainly more addressed well when the women themselves play a front role in discussing those issues. So women's leadership role really has been a struggle, but I think that gradually a lot of women are coming up to speak, and so space is being made available. One thing that I would say before I end answering your question is that a lot of men, so I usually call those men who promotes the leadership roles of women as my he for she heroes, because these are the men who need to speak to allow women the space. When women alone are trying to do this, then it starts to look like some gender kind of attire that they're wearing, and they are being stereotyped. But when we have the men together marching with the women, speaking on behalf of women, to give rooms and capacity, to give opportunity to women, then I believe that we were going to have more women taking leadership roles in Africa.
Great. So, in answering this question, you made mention of lots of challenges, and my next question has to do with: do you think most women in Africa lack access to education, and why? And any possible ways to address some of these challenges? Because I've also been on the ground to work as a campaigner on child marriage before, and yeah, the problem seems associated with women seems to be very troublesome. How do you, answer this question with regards to access to education in women's cycle in Africa?
Okay. Well, let me speak for Ghana, for example, and I believe that the example of Ghana wouldn't be too different from other African countries. And for example, in the past history, we've had challenges of male preference. And so a lot of boys were given opportunities to have formal education. And then most of the girls, like I did said earlier on, were being just kept at home. okay, they were being prepared for just marriages, and so there wasn't the need to give them opportunity to be educated, irrespective of what form of education it was. So perhaps the only thing they had was just the informal education of learning how to sweep, learning how to clean, learning how to take care of children. And so they were just basically limited. Yes, the struggle is real. Yes, for the education of women in Africa. But I believe that with a conscious effort, with a continuous commitment by government, with a continuous commitment by civil society organizations, NGOs who are into education, and individual activists, we would promote education for girls. Girls should be given the needed opportunity so they are able to have basic education, because this is a right, and it's not a right for just boys. It is a right for girls. I personally work in the area of education, and showing that parents understand the essence of education for their children, and then what they can do better than just leaving the girls, sidelining the girls and just giving opportunities to the boys. And like I did said earlier, if we're leaving this fight for just women, then it's going to take a longer time for us to achieve it. So it is a fight that needs men to come on board. And I'm excited that personally you have said that you have done something in that field. So we need to push that agenda even more than now, because that's why we find that a lot of women have been sidelined, being neglected when it comes to the forefront of taking positions, because they don't even have the capacity. And so if we continue in that same regard, if a woman is given the space and she doesn't even have the capacity, then automatically she cannot take that role. So we need to push that agenda even much more. Organizations and the government, people need to push those policies where women, every girl found in every corner in any part of Africa, should have the opportunity to have formal education. Yeah.
Great. So, what motivates you to do your very best as a woman living in Africa or Ghana? Precisely, how is the life like? How is the struggle? I just want our viewers and listeners in London or in Africa, around the world, to have the feel of your presence in Africa or Ghana. How does it feel like as a woman?
Well, it's great. It's awesome. I love being a woman. I thank God for creating me a woman, because I am multitasked. I have the power, I have the capacity. And of course, even though the struggles are real, the struggles of discrimination, the struggle of preference is real, but amidst all of those challenges, it is something that makes me stronger. You know, each time I have to go through one form of discrimination or another, I only pick strength out of it, and then I become stronger. And so, yes, like myself and most women, we would go through those struggles day in and day out. But my challenge to women generally, wherever I find them, younger, older than me, my colleagues, is that if there are no challenges existing, then you wouldn't find the motivation to push yourself to greater heights. And so allow those challenges to exist. Let them come as much as they come. Keep pushing. So it should be some sort of a pivot that keeps pushing you to achieve greater heights. You would keep going until you get to where those challenges doesn't hit you anymore. You know, they become a source of motivation for you. And each time you see them, you just have to smile and then keep pushing. So yes, it's exciting. It's wonderful to be an African woman. I enjoy my space. I enjoy my freedom. I believe that, and I think for me, the positive certainly outweighs the negative. Africa is a beautiful space, and I've been fortunate to have been to at least 3 other African countries. But being a Ghanaian is a wonderful experience. Being a Ghanaian woman is a beautiful experience. There's respect, there's dignity, there's honor. Yes, the little patches here and there will always exist. They always have to exist to keep making us strong. But the beauty part of it certainly does outweigh the negatives. Yeah.
All right. So my next question is you made mention of you really empower women in your cycle, and also you've been doing a whole lot of charity projects. So I want to ask you, what are your top 5 values as a woman? Like people should see you as an inspirational in Africa or your locality where you live at.
Okay, so my top 5 values, the first one is integrity, because
Right.
it's sadly one of the values that we are gradually kind of losing. And so when you have it, you need to uphold it really stronger. Now that's the first one, that wherever I find myself, the my integrity should speak for me even before I start to speak. And of course, respect for each one. We are all humans, irrespective of where we find ourselves. Respect is a very key thing that the natural human being demands. And so when you give respect, then automatically you're going to have respect back. Now, culture is something that I don't lose. Yes, I'm an African woman. If you see, I'm wearing my
Wow.
traditional clothes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a Ghanaian
great.
print. Yes, I love my Ghanaian print. Wherever I find myself, I display it, and it speaks before I say I'm an African. I mean, my attire would always say something about where I'm coming from. Yes,
Great.
professionalism is also some another thing that I uphold really very much, because
Yeah.
in as much
Yeah.
as we can get a bit informal sometimes, we can get a bit lazy, want to just put some jokes in there. When it comes to work, I'm working. When it's fun,
Great.
it's fun. Yes. And so irrespective, I don't have to say that because I'm a woman, I should be able to just do things anyhow and still be given the room to operate. No.
Great.
If I have a tax, I need to ensure that I am upholding all standards. And then I have to work
Great.
just like the way the men are working. And so
Okay.
um I should be able to say that I deserve this position because I worked for it, and not for any foul means, just gaining it. So professionalism is a very important thing. And the final one is love. You know, love is a very beautiful thing. We need to give love. The world is sadly losing it. There's so much conflict happening everywhere. And so, as for me as a woman, wherever I find myself, as a humanitarian service worker, social worker, love is something that I like to spread across. And in line with love, we just had celebrated on last Friday the World Orphans Day, and it was a beautiful opportunity to share love with orphans in Ghana, in Accra, yeah, in part of Accra together. So love is something that we need to keep sharing, because there's so much hate. There's so much hate about religion. There's so much hate about skin color. There's so much hate about who you are and who you're not. And so for me, love is such a valuable thing that I hold. Wherever I find myself, I love to spread it. Yeah.
So how is the living standard as a woman in Africa? I'm talking about the economic hardship. Recently, there was an interview conducted by CNN with a young lady who made a lot of utterances about women perception about, or how what she thinks about women in Africa should, life as woman in Africa lives her life. What can you say about some of the economic challenges? Do you relate to economic challenges or just individuals or something?
Okay, thank you. Yes, there's hardship. Hardship would always exist. I mean, in the US, there are states where there are hardship. Everywhere you find yourself, yes, there will be some minimal hardship, but it's about what is your priority as a woman. Okay, it's about what is your goal as a woman. It's
Okay,
about what's your focus as a woman. Okay, yes, there are 1,001 things that as a woman you could do in Africa, in Ghana. Okay, there are menial jobs that you could do. There are things that you could easily just turn around to make a living out of it. There are real, sincere works that you could do, or you could create. For example, let me give on small skills that a lot of Ghanaian women are doing. People sell oranges, people sell water, people sell any little thing, and they're making a living out of it. And so for me, I speak for myself, and I speak to lots of Ghanaian women. In as much as, yeah, the hardship, economic hardship does exist, which the government is still struggling to sort out. Individuals are still also working. Individuals who are working and supporting young people economically are also doing. Philanthropies are doing their part. You know, everybody's just trying to do something. In as much as that, I think that when you have values, then you have goals and focus, then you wouldn't just lose it. So you have a priority, you know what you want, for yourself. So it's not a base for anybody to want to say that because I don't have, then I want to get into something that, well, it's yes, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do with your person or with your body, but you can speak for yourself and not speak for the whole of Ghanaian women or speak for the whole of African women. And so when I speak for myself. I can only perhaps speak for the little, the very minimal people that I might have interacted with, but I cannot speak on no research basis, speak for the Ghanaian women entirely. So there are lots of Ghanaian women who are struggling day in and day out to take care of themselves in the right way, to take care of themselves without having to go through anything that community, society, that the human race would frown upon, right? Yes. So yes, hardship is real, but women are doing their part really to ensure that they're able to meet up their daily means, especially at least feed themselves and feed their families 3 square meals daily.
Okay, you're live on Africa World Radio. Um, we are on Africa Live Show on Radio Works World in London, and we are broadcasting on YouTube as well as on Facebook pages. You can send us your contribution on the topic. We have Asma talking to her. She's counseling. She's a counselor and also psychologist and executive director for Rayuwa Foundation. We're still waiting on to have our other guests to also join us from around the world. I think we have Kufran joining us from Saudi Arabia shortly. But before I come to Kufran, Asma, please. So my next question before Kufran join us, um, what what do you think most women really lack when it comes to socio-economic development? I understand you had some of you gave us a lot of clearance and also insight about how Africa or Ghana, where you live at, women really struggle to survive and hardship, but you really speak for yourself. So, what can you tell us when it comes to the economic, opportunities? I'm not talking about the hardship, the opportunities available over in your locality.
Okay. Well, the opportunities do exist, although we are still demanding, requesting, and asking for more because, for example, women who have to take a gap time, for example, after birth, because they have to take care of their children. Sometimes it's really difficult for them to get back into the work stream again because for some reason or another, their bosses don't want them back. Now, that's one difficult challenge that some corporate women have to face and I know it might not be too different from other African countries. So such opportunities, if made available, yes, some corporate organizations are really doing very well at that, most especially the government institutions. But yes, the government institution is not enough to absorb every woman, every working woman. So we do have the private organizations that are supporting in that direction. But that challenge is also real. That is also kind of affecting women when it comes to economic empowerment. But yes, the opportunities are really also there sincerely. Chances to getting into the work stream are there for those who want to do small scale businesses. There are government initiatives that are giving small scales women who are into small scale businesses opportunities to revamp their businesses or to escalate their businesses into making it greater and bigger. So those opportunities are there, although we still, like I would say again, like Oliver Tis would still ask for more opportunities for women. Yeah, because we have more women. Yes, so the opportunity for women should we follow the ratio? Should be more as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so how do we deal with the perception in Africa which suggests that women should not given the opportunity to go higher, or which has to do with relationship, with culture or religious beliefs? How do we do that? How do you minimize the situation in Ghana, in your locality?
Okay, so I'll speak generally and then I'll speak about what I am doing personally. Okay,
Okay.
so generally, like I did say, when we have such struggles with women, then of course, if we are
Before I
just
come to you, I think Asma, please hold on. Before I come to you, I think the fan is on the line. Please, your camera is turned upside down. If you can turn it right for us. Gufran, can you hear me?
yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you. Can you turn your camera? It's turned upside
Okay,
down. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, Asma, let
You
me hear from you. Yeah.
okay? So like I was saying, those in trying to deal with such issues, then of course women cannot just march up and say, all women, here we come, we are trying to request for you to understand that when you give us opportunities to be at the forefront, we're not going to take undue advantage of such. But of course, we need the men on board to support in that direction. Now, I think that education and awareness creation is very important. And of course, let's look at what is the reality on the ground. How many women have abused positions? You know, we are very excellent at speaking out of context. When we just find one woman who perhaps might have abused an opportunity that have been given to her, then we generalize that, okay, we don't need to give women the opportunity, because if we do, then they're going to take undue advantage of their position. But how about the many much more women who have done excellently at their various positions? So let's look at all of that, because just as we have good men in leadership position, we have the bad ones as well. How many
Right.
times do we speak about the bad men? And how
Yeah,
many
sure.
times do we speak about the good men? So let's
Yeah.
look at the good ones as well, and let's support those ones, and let's use them as an example for other women who are vying for leadership positions, and say, listen, this is a fellow woman who has set the role for you, so you have this, you need to do greater than this. So let's celebrate women who are doing much more, who are working sincerely, who are putting their hearts out to serve humanity, to serve community, to serve their families as well. So when I come to my community, for example, I use myself as a living example. And then I say, look at, I have had the opportunity to have all the way to my master's, my MPhil, but I didn't take, yes, but with that, I am using it to benefit younger people, to support other women in the community, right? I'm not doing anything negative. And so if you think, or you have created a perception about women who are educated, and the fact that they lose their identity, and the fact that they turn up to be disrespectful, because that's one of the slogans we hear, then I ask you a question: am I disrespectful? If your answer is no, so then I challenge you. Okay, so if your answer is no to that, then why not use me as the next example for another young lady, and then give that lady the opportunity? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Asma, for your contribution. We have Gufran on the line. Gufran, thanks for joining us on Africa Live Show. We're discussing about women empowerment, and my first question to you will be, hello, can you hear me, Gufran? Hello, Gufran. Hello. Oh, I think we lost Gufran again. All right. So Asma, let's move on to what will be your recommendation as to women in your locality?
Sorry, can you take that again? I didn't.
Okay, I see. What I said is, what will be your recommendation in regards to solutions on how to curb some of the, problems that women face in your locality?
Okay. Well, the first thing that I would touch on would be more to do with women in the corporate environment.
Okay.
So, for example, yes, there are due to other roles that women have to play in their communities and even in their homes, for example, because we cannot rule out the fact that when we lose sight of a mother in a home, then we go all out to say we are trying to make the community better. Who is the community? Is the children that we find in the community who are going to go to either make the community better or worse. And so we need the mother's role, very important. But here is a case where a woman wants to work. She has children to take care of at home. She's interested because she's had all the education. She wants to work out in the corporate environment. She can only afford 4 hours of the day to work. But here it goes, she has to work minimal of 8 hours. And so as a result of that, she's unable to fit into the corporate environment. If this opportunity could be made to women, I think that I believe that it's going to go all out to really help a lot of women. What am I calling for? Work flexibility. Not that they won't work. You give them the opportunity to work certain few hours so they're able to come back and continue other tasks that they have to do. That's the first thing that I would call on. And if we can have a lot of such happening, I certainly believe that it's really going to help push a lot of women back into the workspace so they can contribute their quota to national development. Now, aside that, the other thing that I would touch on is respect for human dignity, respect for women, and discrimination. You know,
Yeah.
it's a sad challenge that a woman is at the workspace and the only thing that is visible about her is her sexuality. You know, your colleagues are looking at your curves, your boss is looking at your curves, everybody's discussing that part of your body and nobody's looking at what's in your brain. You know, it's sad that some women have to leave their work environment just because of the nature of their body. They just can't do anything about it. Perhaps she's so well endowed. That's how we say it in Ghana. You know, like, and so it becomes a challenge. So if we can really work at that to stop visualizing women for just their sexuality, but also for their brain, it's really going to help a lot of women. And so the discrimination is really a challenge to a lot of women when you speak to them, African women. When you speak to them, it's really sad, you know, that women have to draw back just because they feel unaccepted in the work environment. And support, family support is the final thing that I would say. The family is the basic foundation wherever for community development, for national building. And in that family is a man and a woman. Now, when you have so much work, so much overburdening of women, then that family system collapses. So to have a healthy family system, we need men and women really working together to support the home environment, such that the woman, after contributing to her immediate family, she still have enough hours, she still have some time, some leftover energy that she can step out to support her community and to support and contribute her quota to national building. I think that's what I would add up to the contribution that
Wow,
people can
thank you so much for your great, thoughts on this subject. And we have Gufran back on the line. Gufran, how are you doing?
Yeah, hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alex Salam, how are you doing, Gufran?
Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you guys?
Great. Gufran, yeah.
I'm good,
Gufran, we
alhamdulillah.
good to have you. How is Saudi Arabia?
Oh, Saudi is fine, alhamdulillah.
Great. We're talking about women empowerment for socio-economic development. and we are privileged to have you to also have your contribution on the side. We've been talking to Asma shortly before you join, and
Okay.
my first question to you will be: how does a woman contribute to economic development in Africa? Oh, hello, can you hear me?
I have a bad network here. Hello? Can you hear me, guys?
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we can hear you. Did you hear my question, please? Wow, I think we lost it. I think other guests are also trying to also join the discussion. Unfortunately, we're having a terrible challenge over here. Remember, we broadcasting live on Radio Works World in London, and also broadcasting from Ghana, Accra at the Golden Tulip Hotel. And we are privileged to have Asma to discuss about socio-economic development. And we have a lot of text messages. Unfortunately, our system with the network won't allow us to read some of the text messages we are having. We broadcast live of YouTube and broadcasting on our cable on Radio Wax in London. So, Asma, what will be your last words before we wrap up? What will be your last words for our discussion today?
okay. Well, so my last words would be that women, African women, are really trying their best. They're
Yes,
powerful. They're awesome. The basic challenges are that compared to perhaps women in other parts of the world, are the available opportunities that are there. But when you look at Africa, yes, we arguably that there are a lot of challenges, and so when you look at those challenges, what I see is opportunities. And if we find opportunities, it means that there are rooms to get things working. And like I did mention, it's not a space for just women and women's issue alone. It's a space of national development. It's a space of not leaving one group of people behind. Because if it's going to be a main agenda thing, then certainly it's going to be half of the country developing, or perhaps it's going to be the country still remaining underdeveloped. And so it's an agenda of everyone, it's an agenda of women, it's an agenda of men. It's about everyone coming together to really put the women in national agenda, in policies, what's happening, how can they contribute. It's about inviting the opinions of women in identifying what are their contribution, what can they bring onto the table. So it's beyond the sexuality of women, okay? It's beyond the issue of culture. It's beyond the issue of sidelining one group of people. It's basically about a national, a unified agenda. Okay, so put women together on the table. Let's discuss, what can we do? What are the roles? What can you bring to the table? Let's see women beyond. Let's address them for the brains that they have. Let's address them for the contributions that they have. Let's respect that, because women, like I said, in as much as a woman may be young, she might be a girl, that's a mother in the making. And it is through women that we have the world. We have all the women and all the men put together. It is through them. And so let's give them that respect, and let's honor our women. Okay. And I'm happy that as a man that's hosting this, I'm happy that it's you, Musa. So I put this first challenge to you. Okay.
great.
Put women at the forefront. Make women visible, not only for the fact that they are fun tools. Sorry to put that way, because that's one of the sad, in quotes, that women are kind of being categorized. Okay, just used for entertainment things, or just for fun. Okay, we are beyond that. So see us as partners in building in national building. See us as contributors in developing our world together. And so with that, we come along because women are synonymous to children. So when you pull a woman, then you're equally pulling a group of children alongside. And so you can imagine the what you're creating. You can imagine how big an opportunity you're giving. You're not only giving to a woman, but you're actually giving to a woman and to the children who are going to come along with her. So that's my last word. It is a joint partnership in this. Yeah.
Great. Unfortunately, we had a lot of challenges today with our network and also the system we are broadcasting from. I think some of the guests are not familiar with the broadcasting material. So let's see how our next edition, I pray we get you on board to discuss further about some of these problems associated with women in our subsequent edition. Much and more having projects going on at the Otis Awards in London, and it's coming off in August. I think probably we should try and feature you on, so we see how best we could move on. Thank you so much for joining us, and to the rest of the guests who were having challenges in joining. We pray next time we won't encounter some of these challenges. Thank you so much, Asma, for being our guest today. And here Ismail and also Mr. Wasiu also contributed. Mohammed Jama also contributed for our success of production back in London. Dr. Marina and the rest. Thank you so much for making this show a success one. Until we meet again. And if you want, before I forget, if you want to be a guest on the show, you can send us an email at info@radioworks.world. Until we meet again, be inspired, and we see you next time. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, Asma.
Okay, you too. Bye. Salam alaikum.